Welcome. In this episode I have a vintage suitcase makeover with this cute little brown suitcase. You'll love it. And if you're new here, I hope that you will consider to subscribe and also make sure to watch to the end to see how it turns out. So I picked this up at the thrift store and I thought it's a perfect size to do what I wanted to do with it. I've been wanting to redo another suitcase. If you haven't seen my previous one, it's either in my description box or you can click on the screen and I will have the card linked. And look at that inside of that. It is so pretty. That color is like an off-white, not so much cream. It's looking cream on screen, but it is so pretty, and I have the perfect inlay that I want to use. So I'm mixing these two colors to make it match as close as I can to the inside. I thought it would look so much better than that brown, and it matches perfect. So I ended up not getting footage of me taping it all up, and I apologize because I thought I was filming and I wasn't. But all of the little areas that I don't want painted are covered except for the strip of metal between the top and the bottom. I couldn't really sit there and do that, so I'm just trying to be careful, and the good thing about chalk paint is you could just wipe it off. So I'm just giving this a good coat right now all the way around, and I'll speed it up so it doesn't bore you to death. And here you can see where I'm wiping off the paint from that metal piece in the center. So instead of using the paint, I'm going to use the Mod Podge here. I've already covered the suitcase with 2 coats of that paint, and it's just easier to have it all even and done instead of wet paint for me. I don't know. You may think different and want to try it with just the wet paint. This I'm just going to use some Mod Podge to put in the area that I need it, and then use my inlay that I'm going to put on the front of the case through the Mod Podge. So you can use it either way, and it turns out super cute this way. So this is the inlay that I'm using. It is so cute. It's from the Christmas collection, which I found kind of odd. I guess cherubs are Christmassy, but it just, to me, is more like shabby chic, and you can use it all year round. Christmas, Valentine's, all in your normal decor. So I'm just measuring here so that I can get it somewhat straight and hopefully it is even, but you want to just make sure that you have it all lined up and look at the actual design and not the paper. That's the key. You just want to measure where that design is so that you can put it in evenly. So now I'm just going to put that Mod Podge in the area of where I think that it's big enough for that inlay to sit on. So you want to get a good coat and make sure it's nice and wet so that it doesn't have any dry spots, because the inlay will not adhere to anything that's dry and you don't want to mess it up. So you want to make sure you have enough to cover it. So you don't want any of it to dry before you put the inlay on. So you want to kind of hurry, but yet you don't want to rush it because you want to make sure it's in the right spot. So now you're supposed to wet the grid side, not the picture side, but the grid side pretty well. Then you want to make sure to put the design facing down onto your project with the grid side up. Then you want to make sure that there's no bubbles and you want to smooth it out. They say to use some kind of a brayer, but last time I used a brayer, it wasn't a very good one, and so it left lines on the actual project, and I do not want that. So I use a glove and just smooth it out with my fingers. And now you want to kind of tap it, and I'm smoothing it out still with this rag, but you want to be really gentle because it may rip. And so you just want to make sure to dab it so that it's dry. So then you want it to sit and dry for at least 5 to 10 minutes before you do anything more with it. So then now you want to get a spritzer or a damp cloth and wet it, dampen it really well, and let it sit for about 30 seconds. So now you'll want to gently pull it back and remove the paper portion, and if it doesn't come off easily, you'll want to dampen it again and wait a little bit, and that's what this is doing. So I just needed to dampen it up a little bit more, and then I kind of take off the excess water, but I guess you don't need to according to the steps on the directions. So you just want to be careful and keep it wet so that when you pull it back, it leaves your design. So I decided instead of just spritzing it directly that I would try the damp rag instead, and I think that made a big difference after it dried a bit more. So now I'm just dampening it so that I can pull it off easier. And you'll want to be really careful pulling it back. I sped this up a bit, but be very careful and slow, because if you rip the design, it makes it more difficult to get those pieces off. But look how beautiful it is already. I just love it. And then I took a sandpaper block and just kind of sanded down where the edges of the paper is. So I think that's my mistake. I should have cut closer to the design. So I changed my mind on leaving that silver part in the center, and I just painted all the way around with that off-white paint. It just looked so much better and more cohesive with the piece, so that's why I painted it. So I'm showing you the color of the design, and I'm wanting to try to match it, and so I'm using this serious gray chalk paint and this rich black chalk paint, because one was too dark and one was too gray, and so mixing it together, I think I got it just right. So here I'm showing where I painted it to kind of match. Once it dries, it matches really good, and I wanted to try it off camera first before I started doing it in case it's not what I wanted and I needed to mix it a little better, but I do think it matched pretty good. So here I'm just doing the front piece of that leather, if you can tell, and it's like a trim around the whole suitcase. And at first I'm trying to be really careful, but then as I messed up and everything and then it dried, I needed to get into the little nooks and crannies. And so I started getting kind of more quicker with it and didn't really care, because it looked even better once I wiped it back and kind of touched it up, that it gave it like a distressed look around the trim, which I thought was really pretty. So it was kind of accidental, but I'm glad I did it because it turned out really good that way. So here I'm putting it into all of the little areas so that you can't see any white around that trim. And then here you can see where I had to use a damp cloth, and I was trying to just take it and remove it at first, but this is where I started seeing it kind of flare out into the white, and so I just went with it and kept it as kind of a distressed look. And that's the nice thing about chalk paint, is that you can just use some water and wipe it and it'll come off, or tone down if you need to. So now I'm painting the handle. It's plastic, and I'm painting it with that same mixture of paint that I did the trim with. And in retrospect, I probably should have waited to paint the handle last, because it was moving around and scraping the Mod Podge off, which I thought was going to protect it, but it rubbed it, and then when you're touching it, it was tacky, so it was pulling it up. So I had to kind of touch that up afterwards, but just a tip, do the handle at the very end. So then I flipped it over so I could paint the other side. And see how the back of that is not painted yet with the trim? I'm going to be doing that next. And here you can see I'm doing the same exact technique that I did on the front, but I'm not as careful this time because I know how it's going to turn out, and I'm somewhat careful. But I just think giving it that trim on the back, it just finished it off and made it a complete piece. Let me know what you think down below. I think it turned out beautiful, and I just love how the color of that ink is just popping and the design is just perfect. Let me know if you would do this actual inlay or if you would pick something else for this suitcase. Also, I might be doing some of my own where I'm redoing them and selling them on Etsy, so keep an eye out on my Etsy shop for those. And if you've enjoyed this video, I have 2 other videos linked down below. One is the white suitcase makeover and the cedar chest makeover. So make sure to check those out. I think you'll love those. And look at the back. I just wanted to show you how I ended up doing the back and how it looks. I just love it. Here's some better lighting, and it just shows all of the brightness of it. It's just so pretty. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Also, you'll want to like, comment, and share my video so the word gets out about Buffy designs. And look at the inside of this, it's so pretty. It just matches the outside now, and it looks like it was made for this. Thank you again. I love you and I appreciate every single one of you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.